Hello and welcome to the International Pentagon Challenge. My name is Kyanite and together we'll be embarking on a very special Football Manager journey where we'll aim to try and win every major international competition in all 5 continents, forcing our hand to play with hundreds of different types of players and most importantly hopefully create loads of awesome different types of tactics along the way. Once that's complete, only then are we allowed to set our sights on the biggest of all goals, the FIFA World Cup. How many nations will we have to manage until we work our way to the top? How many dodgy names will we have to pronounce along the way? So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun along the way.
Alright, hello everyone and welcome to episode 20 of the International Pentagon Challenge. So, as you saw in the last episode, we got sacked from Angola and we've taken the North Korea job. Now, as you can see on the top right hand side, last episode was like early 2022 and it's now January 2023. So, for those of you that probably figured this out, we didn't really have any competitive games. So, 2022 as a whole was a phenomenal year for us where we went completely unbeaten against some very, very good sides in Asia. Now, I'm not really going to show you all the goals because we'll be here all day. But generally speaking, it was mainly the Arab teams that we struggled against, or the Middle Eastern teams like Bahrain, the Emirates and Jordan. We still managed to beat teams like Lebanon, Palestine and Syria. And that was a great win, I think, against Syria because if you take a look at them recently, they beat Iraq, like, to win the West Asian Federation's Cup Championship thing, which is phenomenal, really. And it just goes to show, I mean, I say it's phenomenal in comparison to some of the other teams that were also in this championship, such as Saudi, the UAE. But just the fact that, they beat Iraq in the final as well, who are one of the best teams in the Middle East. I say best teams in the Middle East, like in terms of, countries, probably Iraq and Saudi Arabia, and then Egypt, but they don't really count because they're African, right? So yeah, I'd say that Saudi Arabia are probably the best country, nation, footballing wise, and then probably Iraq. So the fact that Syria won, that goes to show that they are very, very, very good opposition. Smashing teams like Hong Kong 6-0, beating Saudi Arabia 2-1. So they're a good team, and same manager and everything, and we managed to beat them 2-1, which is really, really good. But unfortunately, I'm not really quite sure what happened after the new year. Now, I purposely scheduled our games in the new year against harder opposition, but it seems to have backfired a little bit. So, Uzbekistan, you can argue whether or not they actually are harder opposition, but Uzbekistan, like historically in Football Manager, have always been that nation that always seemed to cause me problems. And to be fair, in the end, it kind of led to our own downfall. So in terms of the match stats, it was a very, very even game. But, for example, you can take a look at the goal that they scored, their 4th goal. Really disappointing. Now, it was a friendly, right? And the guy who kind of came on and made the mistake, Jangkook Chol. I think that's Chol. Yeah, Jangkook Chol. Now, you'll see the mistake that he makes down here on the right-hand side. Essentially, if it weren't for that, I think 3-3 would have been an okay score and something to build on. So he just basically got closed down by Rashidov, and then that happened. And, it happens in Football Manager, it really does. And then we lost 2-1 to Iraq. And again, now Iraq are one of the best sides, in Asia. So to lose against them isn't really the end of the world. But it was kind of disappointing because we took a 1-0 lead. And it was even more disappointing in the manner of that second goal that the Iraqis scored. And overall, really, I'd say after the new year, going forwards, we've been scoring goals. It's really defensively where we struggled after the new year. But we played 2 very good sides, so things could change now going into the Asian Cup. I know in the last episode, I was kind of like contemplating whether or not we'd actually qualified for it. And it turns out that the fact that it said, there you go, it was like our defender like swung his foot at it and then missed the ball. It was a stupid goal. But generally speaking, we matched them and had the only clear-cut chance of the game, right? But yeah, so we had actually qualified for the Asian Cup, which is great because it means, well, we get to play an Asian Cup now. And unfortunately, the group gods haven't really been in our favour again. Jordan, who are a very good team, Oman, and Japan. And, just when I saw we had Japan in our group, I was like, here we go again. It's like Algeria and Ghana all over again. But the good news is that the rules in the Asian Cup work a little bit differently. So they're kind of like more similar to the Euros. So if I can actually find the rules, as you can see here, it says the best 4 teams in 3rd position qualify for the 2nd round. So as far as I'm concerned, our first game against China is a loss. But if we can get a draw and a win, I feel like we can beat Oman, and we can definitely draw against Jordan, and we drew against them in a friendly last year, and to be fair, like, it was a relatively even game as well. If we play the way I know we can, if we can rediscover this form, we should be okay and should at least qualify, even if we finish 3rd place in our group. Now, in terms of changes, obviously I made changes to the staff. You can't see, you know, staff history and whatnot, so I'm not going to bother showing you the staff, because I'm sure you don't really give a monkey's toss about staff I've brought in and whatnot. But what I will do is go to the tactics page, and just like we did last time round, if you want to take a look at yeah, sorry, I thought that was my centre-back then, in goal. If you want to take a look at some of these players' stats, all you have to do, that's why I thought it was centre-back, because as you can see, both their pictures, they look like they've just been released from like a dungeon or something. Both been released from jail. If you want to take a look at these players individually, just simply pause the video whilst I do this, and you can take a more detailed look at their attributes. But as you can see on the right-hand side, now I know kind of the 3 up-front formations is something I've discussed from time to time as something that's a little bit overpowered on Football Manager this year, but to be fully honest, I don't necessarily feel like we're reaping the benefits of that recently, and that wasn't why I chose to do it. So, as you probably gathered by now, those of you guys have been watching all the way from Congo and Angola, I come in, I look at the best players available for a nation within a decent kind of age. So, like, any players who are above the age of, like, 31 and whatnot, just, if they're not going to be useful for us in the future, I don't want them as part of the squad. And I try to build a tactic that allows us to utilise our best players as much as possible. So if we come into our national pool and basically just order by ability, you'll probably notice a bit of a trend. Striker, 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 striker. We have a lot of, like, our better players are kind of striker/winger hybrids, and that's mainly down to the pace that they possess. Now, in comparison to some of our players like at Angola, they're not as fast as they are, but they're fast given that they're North Korean, you know what I mean? So I've tried to build this that'll allow us to utilise our better players. We've got out-and-out wingers, so we could have opted to play with like more of a 4-4-2, 4-5-1 and whatnot, but then I would only be able to play one striker. And our best players for North Korea at the moment are these 2 lads playing in Serie A. We've got Han Kwang-song, who plays for Cagliari in Serie B, but they were in Serie A last season, so yeah, he grabbed 11 goals in Serie A last season, so good player. And we've got Cho Song-hyuk, who plays for Perugia, they also got relegated to Serie B, but I guarantee he was in Serie A last season. Where is he? Yeah, Serie A last season. So I want to try and utilise them too. And we've got Pak Kwang-ryong. I am not enjoying saying all these names, so I feel like it gives us something a little bit different up front. 188 centimetres, half decent in the air for what he gives. And I feel like at this kind of level, it is important to have a big man up front. And as a nation, we're not the most physical in terms of strength and whatnot. Like, our defending is atrocious, and you'll see that when we take a look at the quality of our defenders real quickly. But I feel like him fighting, battling up front, giving us a bit of physicality to piss off the opposition centre-backs gives us something a little bit different from everything else in our squad. In terms of wide players, like I said, our stronger wide players are kind of strikers. So we've got false nines on each side, and they'll look to man-mark the opposition wingers. If we come up against a narrow formation, they man-mark the opposition fullbacks, so they still come back when the fullbacks come forward, because what you find with the AI most of the time, if they're playing a narrow formation, the fullbacks will be wing-backs, you know, in terms of their roles, so yeah, they'll be looking to get width from them, so it works the same way. So it ends up looking more like a 4-5-1 V-shape in the middle of the park. We've got 1 or 2 deep-line playmakers, as you can see here, a few defensive midfielders, but really, not really that great, so it just felt like the right role. Sometimes I might sub a player on, bring him deeper if we've got a lead and whatnot. And then I went for 2 Mazzalas. Now, the Mazzalas a bit of an interesting role, so the modern interpretation of a Mazzala is a central player that likes to drift wide and operate in the half spaces. And for me, that's perfect, because in terms of our midfielders, if we take a look at them, from a technical point of view, they're not good. They're really not. Like, you give them a football, they just kind of swing their leg at it and hope for the best, right? They're on 350 quid a week, so they're not as good as our players at Angola. But they're physical, you know what I mean? They've got a lot of movement on them, and I feel like it's important for them to try and basically act as the pivots between Our defence, who are dreadful, as you can see, it's a flat back four. We'll be looking to hoof the ball forwards and kind of act as that connection. But most importantly, when the direct balls go forward towards a target man, towards the two false nines, these guys have got to be willing to do the legwork and basically win them second balls in midfield, and that's what they look to do. In terms of width, these guys provide most of the width, and you see that they do that because of their man marking. So fullbacks wise, just a flat back four, because honestly, like, we've got little to no pace on this guy. Even technically, he's a bit dreadful. I mean, 12 marking, 13 tackling. Up against Japan, we're going to get torn a new one, right? So we're trying to play to our strengths, which is the guys up front. And that is basically, tactically, what we're looking to do. Go in route one. Probably won't be attacking against Japan, but attacking has been working pretty well for us at home. Now, we're going to have neutral venues, but I think we might still start on like attacking against Jordan and Oman because they're slightly weaker sides in comparison to Japan. We defend deeper. We're pretty narrow. Closing down-wise, pretty aggressive because physically our players can run a fair bit as long as we keep the fresh legs coming in off the bench. And especially up against a team like Japan with very good passers, you need to try and stop them being able to play their game. I mean, from my perspective, you don't want to sit back against them, right? When you sit back, you've got to have a strong defence that can deal with the pressure, and we don't have that. So I'd rather we try and win the ball further up the pitch and try and counter-attack from that and get the ball forwards. But that is it, really. I think these instructions say it all. We're going a bit Tony Pulis, a bit Sam Allardyce on them, but, you know, we'll see where that takes us. So without further ado, we've managed the African Cup of Nations. We're managing now the Asian Cup. I also should probably mention that I applied to a lot of jobs after the World Cup ended, like the England job and even lesser nations, but no one was interested. I've also applied for, this is like literally seconds ago, for the Saudi Arabia job. And I think the Saudi Arabia job is actually a decent proposition. Now, what's even more interesting, actually, is that they are currently in the Asian Cup and they don't have a manager. Like, I'm not quite sure what the game is playing at here, and they've even won their first game without a manager. But the point is, I feel like if we can get the Saudi Arabia job, that would be the step up we need to be managing a dominant team within a continent. And from there, we can then go on to, like, seriously consider winning the next Asian Cup. That way, we can basically cross Asia off our list in this International Pentagon Challenge. Because for those that don't know, the idea or the challenge is for us to win, like, the main cup in each continent and then go for the World Cup. So hopefully, if we do get the Saudi Arabia job, Asia will be the first continent that we conquer. But there's no guarantee we're going to get the Saudi Arabia job. Let's focus on beating Japan for now. Now, all we really know about them is that they've struggled against a 4-2-3-1. As you can see, they've got a lot of these fake players, but hopefully, because the fix is in there, they'll choose some real, actual players. And look, I'm not going to try and overanalyze things tactically. They are just a much better side than us. We're going to go into it trying to play on the counter-attack, and we'll see what basically happens. One more thing I can discuss is our set pieces. So again, we don't really have any good corner takers or any good crossers of the ball. We've really got Kim Buk Kom, I think he's called. Yeah, Kim Cook Bomb, who is like okay at taking corners. Like, I mean, I say okay, he's got 8 corners, but he's the best corner taker in our team. So it says a lot, right? And I'd like to think that it emphasizes how good our unbeaten run was in 2022. Like, this North Korean team is crap, and we did really, really well, guys. So let's see whether or not we can at least get out of the group stages at the Asian Cup. So, yeah, on the left-hand side, because Kim Cook Bomb, is that what he's called? Kim Cook Bomb. I've been contemplating giving all the players like nicknames like John. But yeah, right-footed, 8 corner taking. We've got some kind of big players in the target man, and you know, we've got Han as well, Han Kwang Song, who's okay in the air. So most of the lads going towards the kind of back post, just whip it in towards there and hope that we can get, you know, someone causing problems. He, being a short option, should hopefully lead to dragging an extra defender out, even though given how bad his corner taking is, he might just end up playing it short. I'm not entirely sure yet. And then the other side, we're just going to aim to play it short and try and give it to this guy on the edge of the box to have a shot. He's got the best long shots in our team, 13 long shots. Everyone else is like below 7. So yeah, if he can have a shot or two, it might not necessarily be too bad. And that's about it. So I know I've said this a gazillion times, but we are actually going to jump into the game now. We know Japan struggle against a 4-2-3-1. We're not playing a 4-2-3-1, but theoretically, I mean, with these guys kind of drifting wide. We should be able to take advantage of the wide areas if that is where most of their weaknesses lie. But we do very, very well to get even a draw out of the game. So on that note, the Asian Cup is being hosted in China. I'll see you on the pitch. Okay then, so as expected, really, Japan are the favourites. As we can see, the real players have actually started to join the side. I mean, they've got players like Sakai, Yoshida, a lot of epic Japanese regens as well. Like, this guy plays for Stoke. Seki up front plays for Liverpool. I mean, just look at them stats. It's like the one advantage we have playing against a team like Japan is that we know a lot of information about their players. But we are going to get torn a new one. But we can at least try, right? Okay, so look, we've had some bad results recently. So I'll try and, calmly speak to the boys and just to kind of like discuss what I meant by the man marking. So this guy will look to man mark their right midfielder. They're playing 4-4-2, obviously, and this guy will look to man mark their left midfielder. So it becomes more like a 4-5-1 off the ball going forwards. We are going to drop to a counter mentality, and this is basically what I've been doing, like attacking, counter. I'm happy with how the game adjusts it. I don't want to, reinvent the wheel, and that's about it, really. I mean, opposition instruction-wise, simply because we kind of need, the best we can get against Japan. But look, both their fullbacks are either footed. This guy's right-footed, so we might look to try and get him to cut inside, show onto his weaker foot. It's hard because the others don't really have weak feet. But, yeah, they've got very pacey strikers as well. But we are playing with a deeper defensive line. A part of me is going to drop that even deeper. And let's just see what happens. So there we go. We've managed at the African Cup of Nations. We're now managing... Bloody hell, look. Wow, there's a lot of players in the crowd here. We're now... A lot of players? A lot of fans in the crowd here. We are now managing at the Asian Cup, which is pretty exciting, to be fair. Have we got it on comprehensive? We do. Good tackle. I've actually... Normally, I end up going with, like, 2 more creative players. Offside. Yeah. Bloody hell, boys. Like, you saw that. It was just a simple cross into the box. And we don't have the defenders to deal with it. But yeah, normally I opt going with the 2 Mazzalas as more creative players. But I've actually gone with a slightly more defensive player on the left-hand side. Or actually, he's gone in the defensive midfield position where Kim Bok-kum normally plays. And Kim Bok-kum has gone on the left-hand side. Just because he gives us more, like, in terms of tackling and within that department, really. But as far as we're concerned here, I've got a cup of coffee. It's comprehensive highlights. So if we go 2-0 down, we can switch to key highlights or extended highlights. But it's not like we're 2 Premier League teams who are just even... Oh, let's leave that for the goalkeeper. See what I mean? That wasn't really a sensational piece of play, that was that, Mr. Commentator. That was just dreadful defending. I brought in that Cho Ok-kyong on the right, as right back, with the foresight of he offers a bit more pace than our usual right back because the Japanese are pretty pacey. But yeah, he should have really left that for the goalkeeper. We've got quite an experienced goalkeeper as well, who's got decent communication. So that really should have been a little bit better. But yeah, it's not like we're 2 Premier League teams or 2 teams in the Champions League where I can look at them and be like, oh, we're going to look and try and exploit this weakness. Like, comparing North Korea to Japan, Japan have no weakness. You know what I mean? If you want to be real tactical about it, you can say they've got 2 in the middle of the park, so if we can play with 3 in the middle of the park, it might help us retain possession a little bit better. But the truth is, you are talking about men versus boys here, comparing their attributes to our attributes. So, yeah. Let's see what we can build here. Oh Jin Song, direct ball forwards. It gets cleared by Maya, but that's what we've got to do. We've just got to keep hoofing it forward till we get a chance like this. And, well, that was probably a clear-cut chance. It was unlucky. He's ended up playing it short towards the edge of the box. And, well, it was a decent attempt, I think. Decent attempt. We're in a Well, I was going to say we were going to be in a position to cross it back into the box with all the strikers in the box. What's going to happen here? Go on, Han. Serie B legend. Nice bit of play. Han, you can see how he drifts wider in that false 9 position. Kim Cook bomb. We're struggling to really, because we don't have the passes in midfield to get the ball forward. But Han wins us another corner. So this should be a bit of an in-swinger now. I'm hoping he doesn't play it short because of his 8 corner taking. You can see most of our players have gone towards the back post, and Han gets a header on it. But it's a good save by Kato. So it's a shame we've conceded already. They came out firing to Japan, and we've needed a bit of time to adjust. But reflecting on like the African Cup of Nations, we started off against Zimbabwe, and we had players who like weren't match fit. And that was the game that was really the must-win in our group. So we come into the tournament now playing against Japan, where there's no pressure on us whatsoever, where players aren't match fit. So the way I'm looking at it is, if we lose against Japan, we lose against Japan, right? But, like, at least players can get match fit in a game that doesn't really mean much. There we go. Another corner as well. But hopefully that makes sense, like, in terms of, you know, the game not meaning much and us trying to get the players match fit in a game like this. We've been creating chances somewhat. We've just been struggling to kind of win the second balls. Good save. So if we go in like 1-0 down at half time, the AI always plays them corners. I don't know how to prevent it. If we can go in at half time with only being 1-0 down, then we can consider like maybe starting to throw our fullbacks forwards a little bit more. Like one thing we do against narrow teams, other than obviously get the opposition wing-backs to be man-marked rather than the wingers, like in this case, is we end up playing a little bit wider, and basically I end up going with the slightly more athletic option at right wing and try and get him forward a lot more, because there's a lot more space for us to try and exploit. So you see, we're trying to utilise Pak Kwang, whatever he's called, as the target man, and it's somewhat working, but the midfield have been really bad in trying to basically just pick the ball up. Choi Song-hyuk with a shot. Kato will clear, but we're causing Japan problems. It's probably just their extra bit of quality that's really been the difference at the end of the day. We are building attacks, which is the good thing. Oh Jin Song now to Cho Ok Chol. Finds Kim Cook bomb. As he wins himself another corner. He's going to be the corner taker. Come on, mate. Let's see what you can do this time. Plays it short. And, well, the reason why Cho Song-hyuk is there short with him is because he's the best crosser within our team. So, it kind of makes sense. But, unfortunately, the cross went straight into the first defender. I am struggling remembering these guys' names. Like, I've been managing them for over a year, and I can't differentiate between anyone's name. Then, you know, we might look to be a little bit more direct within that respect. That's real good defending from Han, given that he's a striker, you know, falling all the way back there to clear it. Oh, no. Oh, good save. Good save, that. One thing I am going to change. I mean, the issue is with these guys doing their man marking is that they're not often in them positions, but I'm going to just change the pump ball into box to be clear ball to flanks. Let's just see whether or not we can transition relatively quickly. Like right now, where on earth is our left back? Like I've got no idea who our left back is actually meant to be. Who are you? Hello? Number 3? Like, we've got Han, who's man marking their winger, and their fullback is just like in heaps of space. They're going wider on our Japan. You can see it. And they're basically achieving this 2 versus 1 situation out wide. I'm not happy about that. I want to figure out, is that my left back? He's playing more like a centre-back with how narrow he is. We need to adapt to that. But we could be 2-0 down just before the break. We need to adapt to that. Jong Kwang Sok. Like, I've got no idea where on earth he actually was. But let's tell him to stay a little bit wider. In fact, I'm not going to tell him to... Well, yeah, I'll tell him to stay wider because it's mainly happening down that side, to be fair, as opposed to this side. But we'll try and counteract it by going a little bit more balanced ourselves. We've had chances. They've had most of the chances. But the fact that it's 1-0 at half-time, I'm very pleased with. Especially given how shit, excuse my French, our defending has been since the new year. Oh, that was a chance and a half. How's he not put that in the back of the net? He was unmarked on the edge of the box there. Right. Try and get the lads fired up. And in terms of really changing it around, I think we've been okay. I really genuinely do think we've been okay. I'm going to change this fullback to support because he's got a fair bit of pace on him. So I'd like to see him maybe get involved a little bit more going forwards. Obviously, our players have struggled down the wings. Han Kwang-song, who's an important player for us, has also struggled. Both these guys really on yellow cards. Going direct hasn't really been ideal for us. So I am going to tone it down just a little bit. That's it, really. And, yeah, let's start the second half. So like I said before, guys, there's only so much you can do. But you know how I spoke about it becoming more of a 4-5-1 with the man marking enabled? Yeah, it's kind of obvious. So even though these two are playing as false nine or as strikers, you can see how it reflects on their position off the ball. And that is, you know, that is something, time to concentrate this early on, that is something I really wish they'd implement in Football Manager. Like, I shouldn't have to constantly assign man marking instructions to be able to dictate our shape off the ball. Ooh, thank God for that. I worry about raising our defensive line as well because they've got bags and bags of pace of Japan. Bags of it. But yeah, I looked into the previous North Korea manager and he wasn't actually sacked. Because, like, given that they qualified for the Asian Cup, that's a pretty decent feat, you know what I mean? So, yeah, he just resigned. Like, I think he took another job. I can't remember what job he took, but it was like a club job. So, yeah, go and have a shot. Unlucky, unlucky. Got the ball wide, got it into the box. Not too shabby. It's really just a case now of whether we can keep it at 1-0 up until, like, the 65th minute. And then we can start, like, bringing on fresh legs and throwing men forwards. You know what I mean? And see if we can nick something from the game. Alright, 60th minute. Let's see if we need to bring fresh legs on. Obviously, one thing I like doing is trying to... What's his aggression like? 10, 13? He's pretty young, though. He's a regen, isn't he? 21. Plays for Stoke. If we can... Let's tackle him hard. See if we can maybe, just maybe, force him into getting sent off. We've got Takumi Minamino. No, sorry, he's had a good performance, yeah, so we're going to tackle him hard as well. And Yoshiniro Mutu is struggling, so we'll let him be then. So they've had most of their good luck down this left-hand side. The issue is, I mean, well, I can bring on fresh legs down that left-hand side. I'm not really sure what more he'll offer us. He's got 12 marking. Everything else is pretty much the same, except this guy has 8 marking, you know, so I don't really think he'll offer us much more. And in terms of him being on 79%, I'd rather freshen things up elsewhere. Now, Han is kind of a player. He's a great player. And I don't really want to sub him off. I feel like it's the target man who hasn't really performed. I'm assuming Ryun Chol has a bit of a low rating there because he missed what was, to be honest, a sitter on the edge of the box. But I'm going to keep him on because he's relatively fresh in comparison to some of the other players. It's tough, really, because I don't trust any of the players. They're all pretty damn dreadful. Which isn't probably what you want to hear, but it just is how it is. Okay, then, one thing I am going to do is change this guy to support as well. And I'm not going to actually... I'm thinking of bringing on the other left back, just because, you know, he's not having a nice time against the other guy is our left back here. So, okay, 5 minutes have passed. I'm actually going to bring on the new left back now. Fresh legs up against the tired Japanese player who's having a good game might help us. This guy's having a bit of a poor game. So, other options we've got is probably So Kyung-jin, who's an okay player. I mean, he's not phenomenal, but none of our players are really phenomenal. And I don't really want to change the front line, to be honest. I mean, Cho Sung-hyuk could maybe do something for us out here if he hugs a touchline a bit more. He is right-only footed. He's very, very pacey. So, you know what? We're going to look to do that. Let's get the ball down the right flank. Tell them to start being a little bit more expressive now. You know, 20 minutes to go. Let's see whether or not we can actually start racing for that goal. And in terms of other players that would probably come on, the only other change I would probably make at this time is taking off Han. But I want to leave that for later on. And I probably want to bring on the fastest player I can find. Who's probably going to end up being Kim Yu-sung. So we'll save him there for now. Let's see what comes of this highlight. There we go. Like this down this left-hand side where we've had most of our problems. The fullback overlaps and, well, they win a corner. But we're holding on. We're holding on. Once it's like 70, 75. Oh, I thought I went in. We'll start going a bit more attacking. Okay, let's start getting the ball forward, if you get where I'm coming from. So, look for the overlap. We're going to start going a bit more route one. They're already looking to be a bit more expressive. And, yeah. Our fullbacks are going to start getting involved a little bit more now. He's going to become more of a sweeper keeper because he kind of has to be because we're going to be playing with a slightly higher line. Oh Jin-sung could do with him being freshened up a little bit. It's just a case of who really comes on. Yeah, this is a good player. Ju Jong-chol in that deep line playmaker position. And that's the 3 subs we're allowed, I guess. So we're not actually ending up bringing on another striker. So I'll just make him an advance forward. Yeah, we'll make him an advance forward. And we're going to start hoofing the ball forwards. We're 20 minutes to go. We might get lucky with an attack, or we might concede, which is more likely, to be honest. But we can at least try. And that's what we need to do right now. We need to at least try. I think from a positive perspective, the fact that we've been defensively solid, because Japan have been good going forward, is really what leaves me in quite a positive mindset. Okay, we're going to go 3 up front and start to try and get the lads forwards just a little bit more. Just try and be a little bit more positive, I think. Overload. Put ball into box now that we've moved them forwards. We're going to raise our defensive line a little bit. Tell them to start taking some more risks. And not necessarily look for the overlap. Let's just get that ball forwards, guys. Get it in the right areas. Start causing the Japanese defence, who have been asleep for a while, you know, start asking questions of them, basically, and see if we can grab a goal. What's important is that in situations like that, when the ball's in the air, that we do actually win them second balls so we can recycle possession. Otherwise, Japan have the quality to counter-attack us. Minamino crosses the ball in. Muto almost stopped, and Cho Ok-chol sees him away. It's cleared once again. Uchida to Usami, who's in on goal, and it's another very, very good save from Ju Kwang Min. Come on. Ball forwards. Cho Song-hyuk finds Han. We can see the fullbacks now starting to overlap. It's a nice ball. I think it's just offside. It is, yeah. From Cho Song-hyuk. Go for a push forward shout. It's a tough one, this, isn't it? I mean, move these guys a little bit more forwards, really. Let's try and get them closer to that area. And change these to wing backs on attack. And that's all we can do. That's all we can do. We're just trying to go as positive as possible. We've done very well to, you know, hold things off at, 1-0 for this long. And it's just a case of seeing whether or not we can nick a cheeky equaliser this late on. Very good tackle. Well done, Jang Kuk Chol. I probably butchered these names this entire episode, by the way. Okay. A few minutes to go. No more man marking for these lot. Let's just keep them as far up the pitch as possible. Ju Kwang Min, I think, has 13 kick-in, so that should be good for us. Pa Kwang, come on, give him runners. Kim Cook Bomb. Out wide. Oh, what's he doing from there? Why is he not whipping that ball in? He's the best crosser in our team as well, and he just does that. He just wants to go for glory, doesn't he? He's the main one that reacts a bit badly to my team talk, to be fair. What a bell end. Oh, go on, close the keeper down. This is nice. Oh, for God's sake. That ball. Corner, corner! Close him down. Oh, that went out of play. I feel like something's coming here. Oh! We're playing some good stuff. Cho Song-hyuk now. We're throwing men forwards without a care in the world. Oh, it's over the bar. Oh! I mean, none of them have really been clear-cut chances, but we're throwing men forwards for fun, and the Japanese can't really handle it right now. I mean, let's be honest, we wouldn't have been able to maintain that for 90 minutes, you know what I mean? But the game plan was, if we can keep it 1-0, and then start throwing players forwards later on as the Japanese start to tire, we might stand a chance. Oh, go on. Go on. Go on. Oh. Can we recycle this in midfield? Oh, they're going to score from this now, aren't they? The Japanese. Oh. Didn't quite have enough about us, did we? You know, if we had slightly better players who could finish, like that midfielder, Ryomkin Song, or whatever he's called, he should have really finished when he was unmarked on the edge of the box. Really, really should. Oh, no. Okay, good, good. We've only lost 1-0. It's not catastrophic from a goal difference point of view. Very, very good result given our recent friendlies post-New Year, but this was more like watching North Korea from last year. So I can't really fault the lads. Despite the result, I'm pleased with your performance. We've got to be fully honest. And that is going to be it for this episode. So apparently we must learn quickly. This is something that really annoys me in Football Manager. Inevitable loss, but for God's sake, Japan are like 20th in the world. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so there we go, guys. That's the end of it for this episode. I do think Japan are actually one of our rivals. Are they? Yeah, they are one of our rivals, but there we go. So, played 3, lost 3 so far this year, which is very different to last year, but I don't really care for the moment. Oman, winnable game. We're starting to get match-fit players now, so fingers crossed, 3 points there. And then a draw against Jordan should hopefully see us qualify into the next stages of the Asian Cup. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.